They call it the most sinful country on earth. But is that true? Or is it just the greatest misunderstanding in modern history? Behind the glowing skyscrapers, the endless neon signs, and the bustling streets lies a story most of the world never sees. A story of contradictions so sharp, they can leave you breathless. China, a land older than most empires, yet racing faster into the future than anyone else. A land of spiritual traditions, yet accused of material obsession. A land bound by rules and discipline, yet whispered about as dangerously indulgent, even sinful. So why do people call it that? And what's the truth about real life inside the world's most mysterious giant? To answer, we have to look deeper, beyond headlines, beyond cliches, into the streets, the temples, the markets, and the secret places where China shows its real face. Let's start where few outsiders dare to look. In the cities, where luxury towers scrape the clouds, and down below, alleyways hide a very different story. Gambling dens hum quietly in basements. Mahjong tiles clatter late into the night, fortunes changing hands with every flick of the wrist. Technically illegal, yet tolerated in whispers, gambling remains one of the country's most paradoxical obsessions. It is here that the label sinful begins. Because gambling, lust, indulgence, and secrecy, these are words the West has often used to describe China. But the truth is far more complicated. For every hidden mahjong room, there is a temple where incense burns in silence. For every nightclub bathed in neon, there is a scholar reciting Confucius under candlelight. China is never just one thing. It is always two, the seen and the unseen. Take Shanghai. By day, it is the beating heart of China's economic miracle. Banks, fashion, technology. By night, it transforms. Rooftop bars overflow with the new wealthy elite. Karaoke parlors promise more than just music. In alleys, the black market thrives, from counterfeit handbags to the latest iPhones smuggled in before official release. For outsiders, it feels chaotic, even sinful. For locals, it is just life, a balance between survival and ambition. But the real paradox isn't in the big cities. It lies in the countryside, where the past refuses to die. Travel west, and you'll find villages where elders still burn paper offerings to ancestors, where Taoist priests read fortunes, and where Buddhist monasteries hide in the misty mountains. Here, sin is not neon indulgence, it is the breaking of harmony, disshonoring family, ignoring tradition, turning away from balance. This is why the label sinful is so misleading. Because in China, morality does not flow from the same sources as in the West. Sin, guilt, redemption, these are foreign concepts here. What matters is honor, harmony, the balance of the individual with the family with the village with the empire. And yet, temptation is everywhere. On the streets of Beijing, food stalls sizzle with skewers of meat, dumplings, noodles, and roasted delicacies. Eating itself can feel indulgent. Festivals turn cities into oceans of red lanterns, fireworks, and feasting. To the outsider, the sheer scale of pleasure looks excessive. To the Chinese, it is tradition, honoring gods, ancestors, and the cycles of nature. But behind the laughter and lights lies another story, one that whispers of control, surveillance, and rules that no one dares to break openly. Because while some see China as the most sinful nation, others see it as the most disciplined. Cameras track faces, apps track purchases, social credit scores reward obedience and punish defiance. Freedom and indulgence? Yes, but only inside carefully drawn lines. Step outside them, and paradise turns into a cage. The contradiction deepens. Is this indulgence, or the most sophisticated control system in history? To answer, we must look at the roots. For thousands of years, Chinese philosophy has walked the line between indulgence and restraint. Taoism whispers, follow nature, seek balance, accept the flow. Confucianism demands, respect hierarchy, obey, honor your duty. Buddhism urges, detach from desire, seek enlightenment. 3 voices, speaking together. And out of them grew a civilization that could feast and fast, indulge and restrain, build palaces of gold while preaching the emptiness of desire. The West sees contradiction. China sees harmony. Yet the modern era has pushed these ideas into strange new shapes. In cities like Shenzhen and Guangzhou, markets overflow with technology, fashion, and wealth beyond imagination. Young people scroll through luxury brands on phones built faster than any in the West. They sip bubble tea in cafes that look like they belong in Tokyo or New York. But when asked about sin, they laugh. Sin? That's not a Chinese word. To them, life is not about sin and forgiveness. It is about success, measured in progress, status, and face. And yet, something older stirs beneath the surface. Every year, millions of Chinese still return to their ancestral villages for Lunar New Year. They kneel before family altars, burn incense, and speak to the dead. Even the wealthiest tech billionaires bow before their ancestors. It is here that you see the truth. China may look indulgent, even sinful to outsiders, but at its core, it is bound by duty and memory. Still, the rumors persist. Why? Because China's past is filled with secrets the world barely understands. From the decadent courts of the Ming emperors, where silken concubines filled endless halls, to the shadowy gambling houses of the colonial treaty ports, to the present-day neon skylines, China has always lived with a double face: restraint and indulgence, duty and desire, harmony and chaos. But what if the truth is even darker? What if the world's most sinful country is also the world's most misunderstood? To answer, we need to dig into history itself, because the story of China's so-called sins is not new. It stretches back centuries, through dynasties, invasions, revolutions, and resurrections. And once you hear what really happened, you may never see China the same way again. In the next part, we'll enter the forbidden palaces, the opium dens, the gambling halls, and the secret societies that shaped China's reputation. A tale of power, desire, and survival, hidden beneath the silk and smoke of history. The streets of Beijing may glow with neon today, but the idea of China as the most sinful country was born centuries ago, in smoke-filled palaces, decadent courts, and the hidden corners of empire. Step back with me, deep into the Forbidden City. Here, emperors ruled with absolute power. Behind golden walls, silk curtains, and carved jade halls, the Son of Heaven lived a life so indulgent it seemed almost unreal. Banquets of 100 dishes, music played by orchestras of hundreds, concubines chosen from across the empire, entire armies of servants devoted to a single man's pleasure. To Western travelers who peeked behind the veil, it was shocking. They whispered of gluttony, lust, and excess. They painted China as a land of indulgence, a place where emperors drowned in luxury while peasants struggled to survive. But here lies the paradox. What outsiders saw as sin, insiders saw as the mandate of heaven. The emperor's excess proved the empire's greatness. His indulgence was not corruption, it was cosmic order. If the emperor feasted, the empire was strong. If he grew weak, disaster followed. Yet the cracks were always there. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the West forced its way into China, and with it came a wave of new vices, none more devastating than opium. By the early 1800s, millions were addicted. Opium dens spread like wildfire through cities and villages alike. Men and women lay for hours in smoky rooms, pipes between their lips, eyes half closed, lost to dreams. The Qing dynasty tried to stop it, but British traders, eager for profit, poured opium into China, feeding addiction on a scale never seen before. To missionaries and travelers, this was proof that China had fallen into sin. They wrote books about heathen vice, painting images of an empire drowning in smoke and weakness. But the truth was more complicated. The opium epidemic was not China's invention. It was forced upon them, a weapon disguised as a pleasure. And yet, the reputation stuck. China became the land of sin, opium, concubines, secret societies. Let's walk deeper into that shadow. In the treaty ports, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, entire districts sprang up devoted to pleasure. Gambling houses buzzed with games of chance. Brothels lined the streets, lit by red lanterns that would later give their name to entire neighborhoods. Secret drinking houses offered imported liquors forbidden to the poor. Foreign businessmen and Chinese elites mingled in dens of indulgence. To the west, these scenes confirmed their suspicions. China was the wicked empire. To the Chinese, it was survival, the only way to endure humiliation at foreign hands. But sin did not live only in the ports. High in the mountains, secret societies formed, some devoted to rebellion, others to mystical rituals. The Triads, the Heaven and Earth Society, the White Lotus. Their ceremonies involved blood oaths, coded language, hidden handshakes. To the authorities, they were criminals. To their members, they were brotherhoods, bound by loyalty in a corrupt world. These societies, too, fed the legend of a sinful China, shadowy, secretive, and dangerous. Meanwhile, in the palaces, emperors still lived in worlds of unimaginable luxury. The Empress Dowager Cixi, for example, was said to bathe in milk, eat lavish banquets while her people starved, and rule from behind silk screens while keeping the forbidden city in a constant state of intrigue. Was it sin, or survival in a world of knives and whispers? As the 19th century ended, China staggered under humiliation. Foreign armies marched through Beijing. The summer palace burned. The once proud empire was carved up like a feast by Western powers and Japan. To outsiders, it looked like divine punishment, a sinful land collapsing under its own vices. But to the Chinese, it was betrayal. And then, the 20th century arrived. Warlords divided the land. Cities became playgrounds for the powerful. Shanghai, especially, earned the nickname the Paris of the East. But it was no city of light. Beneath its glittering Art Deco towers, the underworld ruled. Gambling halls run by triads. Opium dens where jazz bands played through the night. Nightclubs filled with flappers and gangsters. For a moment, Shanghai was the most decadent city on earth, a place where fortunes could be won or lost before sunrise. Western writers descended on the city, filling books and newspapers with stories of sinful Shanghai. They wrote of prostitutes numbering in the tens of thousands, of police paid off to look away, of rich foreigners living like kings while beggars died in the streets. China's reputation as the most sinful country in the world was sealed. But then came revolution. In 1949, the Communist Party rose to power. Overnight, gambling halls closed. Brothels were shut. Opium was crushed with an iron fist. The neon lights of Shanghai went dark. The message was clear. The age of sin was over. But was it? Because though the vices disappeared from public view, they did not vanish entirely. They simply went underground. Secret mahjong houses, hidden nightclubs, black markets in the shadows. The face of China was purified. The heart of China still beat in whispers. And so, the contradiction deepened. To the world, China became a land of order, discipline, and morality. But beneath, the old temptations never truly died. Today, China's skyscrapers reach higher than ever. Its economy powers the world. Its people enjoy wealth and technology beyond imagination. But behind the glass towers and endless highways, the same whispers remain. Mahjong tiles, neon lights, secret societies, pleasure balanced against control. So is China the most sinful country? Or the most disciplined? The answer is both. Always both. But the real question is, why does the world care so much? Why has China, for centuries, been the mirror in which the rest of the world projects its fears and fantasies? To find that answer, we have to look not at China's past, but at its present. Because in today's China, the old sins have returned, dressed in modern clothes. In the final part, we'll walk the streets of modern China, from underground gambling dens to luxury malls, from ancient temples to high-tech surveillance cities. And when you see what life is really like in the so-called most sinful country, you may realize the truth is far stranger than the myth. Step into China today, and you'll feel like you've walked into the future. High-speed trains glide faster than planes. Skyscrapers climb so tall they disappear into clouds. Entire cities rise in a single decade, filled with malls, towers, and lights brighter than Times Square. It looks perfect. Too perfect. But just beneath the polished glass, the whispers continue. And the question remains, is this really the most sinful country on Earth? Let's start in the heart of a megacity, say Shanghai or Shenzhen. The streets hum with electric cars. Cafes serve oat milk lattes. Billboards glow with luxury brands. But if you follow the streets past the lights, into alleys and basements, you'll find the old temptations alive and well. Mahjong parlors filled with smoke, cash changing hands behind locked doors. Private karaoke clubs where the neon never fades. Markets where you can buy anything, if you know who to ask. Technically illegal. Quietly tolerated. Carefully controlled. It is a double life. On the surface, modern, clean, disciplined. Below, indulgent, ancient, hidden. This is why outsiders still call it sinful. Because China shows two faces, one for the world, one for itself. But ask a local, and you'll hear something different. They don't call it sin. They call it life. Because for them, morality isn't about right and wrong the way the West defines it. It's about balance. Too much indulgence brings shame. Too much restraint brings misery. Harmony is the goal. And yet, the balance is harder to keep than ever. Technology has changed everything. Apps track every purchase, every message, every move. Social credit systems reward good behavior and punish bad. At the same time, apps also open doors to indulgence, luxury shopping, gaming, streaming, dating. The phone in your hand is both the strictest teacher and the most tempting demon. Here lies the new paradox. China is both the most watched and the most indulgent society in history. Every pleasure is a click away. Every mistake is a mark on your record. And the people live between those two extremes, balancing on a knife's edge. Let's take nightlife as an example. In cities like Beijing, Guangzhou, and Chengdu, rooftop clubs thrum with bass. Champagne flows. Young elites dance under LED screens 2 stories tall. But to enter, you pass through layers of security, ID scans, and quiet checks. Once inside, you are free, as long as you know the limits. Cross them, and the dream collapses. It's not just nightlife. It's food, too. China's food culture is legendary. But look closer, and you'll see the same theme: excess and restraint, harmony and indulgence. Feast days bring tables collapsing under dumplings, noodles, roasted meats, sweets, and wine. The next day, fasting or light meals to restore balance. It is not sin. It is cycle. But the cycle is changing. Younger generations, raised on the internet, now consume Western movies, games, and music alongside Chinese traditions. They want luxury, freedom, travel, and yet, they bow to their ancestors every new year. They chase wealth and status, yet still fear losing face before their families. It is a tug-of-war that never ends. And this is why the label sinful is so powerful. Because to outsiders, this constant contradiction looks like moral chaos. But to the Chinese, it is simply the way of things. Consider gambling again. Officially banned. Yet lotteries, mahjong, and underground betting thrive everywhere. Consider desire. Dating apps explode in popularity, yet arranged marriages and family pressure remain strong. Consider wealth. Billionaires live in penthouses with private gyms, yet villagers still light incense for the same ancestors as 1,000 years ago. The world sees contradiction. China sees balance. And yet, there's one more layer. A layer most outsiders never glimpse. Because in China, indulgence is not just about pleasure. It's about power. A seat at the right banquet table can change your life. A gift offered in the right way can open doors no official paper ever could. Behind closed doors, business deals are struck over lavish meals, karaoke nights, or endless rounds of baijiu, a liquor stronger than vodka. Indulgence here is not sin. It is survival, but it comes at a cost. As China rises to global dominance, the tension grows sharper. The skyscrapers shine brighter. The rules grow stricter. The temptations grow louder. And the balance becomes harder to keep. So, is China the most sinful country on earth? The answer is not yes. The answer is not no. The answer is that the very idea of sin doesn't quite belong here, because China doesn't measure morality in the language of sin and forgiveness. It measures it in duty, in harmony, in face, in survival. What looks like sin to the outsider is life to the insider. What looks like chaos to the West is balance in the East. And maybe that's the final twist. China is not the world's most sinful country. It is the world's most human. Raw, contradictory, beautiful, terrifying. A place where ancient traditions and futuristic dreams collide every single day. So the next time you hear someone call it the most sinful nation on earth, ask yourself, are you seeing the truth? Or just a reflection of your own fears and desires? Because in the end, the story of China is not about sin at all. It's about us, about the contradictions we all carry, about the balance we all seek. China is not a warning. It is a mirror, and what you see in it depends on who you are.